Well, if you can believe it, it's 5 days, just 5 days until Election Day. Why don't we take a look at the latest battleground polling in Michigan? The latest New York Times Siena College poll gives Joe Biden an 8-point lead, 49 to 41. That's in Michigan. The latest Washington Post ABC News poll that we showed you yesterday had Biden up 7 in the state, 51 to 44%. Let's turn to Wisconsin. The Marquette University Law School poll shows Biden with a 5-point lead, 48 to 43%. That is much tighter than yesterday's Washington Post ABC News poll, which had Biden up 17 there, 57 to 40%. Georgia. The Monmouth University poll puts Biden ahead by 4, 50 to 46%. We have two new polls out of Florida. The latest NBC News Marist College poll out this morning shows Biden ahead by 4, 51 to 47%. And the latest Reuters Ipsos poll shows Biden leading by 2, 49 to 47%. And finally, in Arizona, the same poll finding Biden also leading by 2, 48 to 46%.
So, Jonathan Lemire, let's go through these numbers. This is the first time you or I have ever gone through a polling number in the 2020 news cycle. Why don't we do something new today? So, Michigan +7, +8. Wisconsin +5, +17. By the way, those are two really good polls. There is, I was reading the Upshot last night. There's really no explaining the wide divergence in those two polls. Georgia +4, Florida +4, +2 for Biden, Arizona +2. I'm going to just say something now, I don't believe any of these polls, I'll be honest with you. I don't believe any of them. I don't believe any of these polls. I think this race is extraordinarily tight. And every time I start believing the polls, I start looking at data from early state voters. Like Florida, okay, Can Donald Trump really be behind 4 points in the state of Florida when he is outperforming Democrats the way he is in Miami-Dade County right now in early voting? Can he really be losing by 4 points when Democrats are picking up 50,000 votes? I mean, who knows? Maybe Biden wins by 50,000 votes. Maybe he wins like DeSantis wins. But 4 points there, 17 points in Wisconsin. I mean, Arizona, 2 points. Yeah, maybe so. But, man, does anybody on this set really believe that Joe Biden is going to win Georgia by 4 points? Because I sure as hell don't. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I'm that general fighting the last war that I always warn about. But I just don't believe these numbers.
This new segment, Talking Polls, I think it's going to work. We should mention to
You
Alex
think so?
to keep it going.
Okay.
Joe, I think it's a good. Joe, I think the confusion you're expressing is echoed by strategists on both sides of the party. Certainly, let's just talk Wisconsin first, right? That Marquette poll that Mika just read, that's sort of seen as the gold standard in that state. And that margin, around 5, is far more realistic, far more seemingly in touch with reality, perhaps, than that huge spread we saw in that poll yesterday. Neither campaign thinks it's anywhere near that, although both agree that Biden does have a consistent, not huge, but consistent lead. And look, a 5-point lead on Election Day, you win it by 5 points, that's pretty good. You'll take it. But yes, certainly the margins certainly seem to be smaller there in the Sun Belt. And that is why, Joe, this race, and we've been discussing this, does feel still like it's close. It's still in the balance, and why people have reluctantly, have stayed away from the idea, calling this a potential Biden rout, even though Biden is plunging into new states, like heading into Iowa later this week, and he was in Georgia earlier in the week, because there is that path. And I think that's the best way to think about this. The president of the United States is losing, and he's losing pretty much everywhere. But in the path to 270, the combination of states he could string together through the Sun Belt, He's within striking distance in all of them. Florida, I agree. That's more like a 1-point race. It's hard to imagine that's 4 or 5. Georgia is competitive, no question. The Biden camp, I was talking to someone there last night who says they feel pretty good there, but they hardly feel like it's in the bag. North Carolina, the same. They like where they are, but they recognize they're just up a point or 2. And certainly, if there's an election day surge for Republicans, which is what the White House is banking on, Trump could certainly take both of those. Arizona's a little harder. His deficit's a little steeper there. He was there yesterday for a pair of rallies in Arizona. Should be note, Joe, you'll appreciate this, that the Senate candidate, Martha McSally, was given all of 1 minute to talk on stage, far less than Nigel Farage.
To come up on stage.
Nothing to do with it. Yeah, Nigel Farage, the former Brexit leader, had much more time to speak to the crowd. But if you string all these states together, it would require threading the needle, but he could do it. And then it's all about Pennsylvania.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.